All right, so yeah, Jeff has a question about analyzing the wick or the tail of a previous bar, so one bar back, to see its length. Is its length a certain percentage of the bar there? Yeah, so again, that's a custom indicator that's going to analyze, those various components of each bar there and return a percentage value to you. All right, that's exactly what custom indicators do is, right, they perform those specific type of calculations for you. All right, yeah, so you just need a custom indicator that can do all the math and figuring out, how long is that lower wick, and then vice versa, how long is an upper wick, as a percentage of the entire bar there. And then once you have that custom indicator, outputting a percentage number, then you would use a threshold solver, right? Because you're looking for a 50% or greater wick, long wick there. So with the threshold solver, we could say, greater than 50, percent tail slash or top, maybe for the opposite. For a short signal, you might be looking at the tops, right? Like so, right? And so you would put in, plug in your custom indicator, that's giving you those percentage outputs there. And then in the threshold rules window, again, it depends on how does your custom indicator output that percentage. Is it just outputting 50 for 50%, right? And then 100 is 100%, right? Or is it putting it out 0.5 for 50%? So whatever your indicator is outputting, just put that value in there, and there you go. And you're looking for a value greater than 50%, or probably equals, greater than or equals to, 50%, 50 or 50 or 0.5, whatever it is. And then probably, right, vice versa. So for reading the tops there, same thing. And there you go. So that's how you would set up the threshold solver for that. But since it needs to be one bar back, that is where in the indicator here, so in the indicator, let's see here. Sorry, wrong spot. Not in the indicator window, but right here, the displacement. So you would set the displacement to 1, and so that's going to read your indicator one bar back. So there you go. So using a displacement of 1 is reading your indicator one bar back, one previous bar. And there you go. And then again, the threshold rules here, depending on what your indicator is outputting, 50 or 0.5, for 50%. There you go. Like so. Oh, and sorry, actually, I reversed this one. Yeah, so if you're reading the top, you want both of these. I'm assuming that, you're looking for a top wick 50% or greater. So, actually, so both of these should be set to greater than, if you're looking for a value greater than 50%. Sorry, it's such a habit of always reversing my conditions, but in this situation, you're looking for a minimum length. So you're looking for a length greater than for both a long and greater than 50% for a short. So there you go. Greater than. So, all right. Let's see here. Okay, it looks like Jeff is filling me in on some more details. All right. Yeah, so Jeff is saying, all right, so if you wanted to compare, yeah, the 1201 bar to the noon bar, yeah, so it looks like you're working on 1 minute charts there. And yeah, and you're looking for wicks greater than 50%, and you want to adjust that value. Yeah, so in here, right, is where you would adjust that value. So if you wanted a 55%, there you go, right? So, or maybe, the tops only need to be 45%, whatever, right? So you can say, okay, the bottom wicks, the tails need to be 55, but the tops need to be 45. So there you go. So, all right, yeah. Now, if you only wanted to compare, right, the 1201 bar to the 12 o'clock bar, then let's see, let's click OK. Yeah, so I'm going to use, so if you want to identify a very specific bar at a certain time of day, I'm going to use the threshold solver here. And in the threshold solver, I'm going to use this little utility here. So in SharkIndicators, inside of Tools, we have this older indicator called time block. So this time block indicator was around before we had the time session solver. So I'm going to pull up the time block indicator and there. All right, so I'll put in my start time there, 12:01, and I'm going to use the is start bar, right? So this will give us a true output if on the bar that matches our start time, right? Start bar, right? It's going to be the start time. End bar, right, would be the ending time, right? And then of course you can identify times before the start, between times, right, between the start time and between the end time, right, after the end time, right? So this kind of has all kinds of outputs here. But yeah, if you want to identify one specific bar, then put in, the time of that bar, and we're going to use the is, so the indicator is going to be identifying, is this the start time bar? Like so. And let's see here. So we're going to have to go back to yesterday. There we go. So there it is. There's my 12:01 bar right there. Right, so this is that's the 12 o'clock bar, and then this is the 12:01 bar. So I can identify that bar, and then with a AND node, here, let me name this. There. Right, so it's the 12:01 bar, and then so you're using this as a filter, for whatever your indicator is that's giving you the percentage of the wicks, right, into an AND node, and there you have it. So just like that. So the only reason why I have an output is because I just left the SMA in there, and obviously the SMA is greater than 55, at least on the NQ. Yeah, it's greater than 55 on the NQ. So, yeah. oh, sorry. And yeah, I only have a long output here. So hold on. So going back to this threshold solver with the time block, I do need to go back into the rules window here. And let's see, we are, well, actually, no, I don't really need to change anything other than for the short output. I do need to change this. So once again, both of these are going to be greater than 0, right? So when this time block identifies this 1201 bar, it's outputting a value true or false. And when it's true, the output value is 1. So obviously 1 is greater than 0. So that's how this works, right? So if you want to be a little more linear, direct thinking, you know, then actually technically what we're looking for, let me hit apply, right? If I hit apply, right, when the indicator is outputting false, which is 0, right, there you go. All of these bars, everything but the 1201 bar is a 0 because it's false. And the 1201 bar is true, and so we have no output. So the actual, all right, so that's just how the time block indicator operates. So, but what we're looking for is a true output, which gets converted to 1. So there we go. So hit that. So that's what we're looking for, is that when the time block is true, it gets converted to a value of 1, and there we go. So there's our 1201 bar now identified. Sorry. Yep. So yeah, so again, when you're using the time block indicator, just remember either put equals 1 for both the long and the short, or the quicker thing to do is, you know, if we left the default 0 values in here, then just make sure both of these are on greater than 0. Right, there we go, and same results. There we go. All right, so just to recap, so this threshold solver, right, it's going to be reading your custom indicator that's outputting the length of the wicks as a percentage, and then you just put in whatever percentage value you're looking for from that indicator, right? And both of these are greater than symbols there, and then you have a time filter here, and so you can identify exactly what bar you're looking for.